Hello and welcome to the Maiden Romance podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Bailey, and we also have my co host here, Sab, aka SR7.
Hi everyone, hi Sarah.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Great.
Good,
Fab.
good, good. Yes, so we're just going to get straight into it. On today's podcast, we're going to be talking about romance isn't trashy, you're trashy. So, I can blame Sab entirely for the title of this podcast today, but we're really going to be talking about the stigma behind romance and why everyone calls it trashy.
Hmm? Let's get stuck in.
Yes, they're stuck in. Okay, so I'm sure we've kind of hit on this topic before about the fact that people are always trashing on romance and saying it's, saying that it's trash, which is not very nice, I have to say, when you disparage an entire genre just because of whatever, negative stereotypes you've obviously heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a lot of opinions on why people say stuff like this, but and I'm sure you do too.
I mean, I have a few examples I can imagine, so yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. Okay, so I'll start by talking about one of the biggest reasons I think people basically shit all over romance is because it's written by women primarily for women.
Mm.
And people don't like the fact that romance is the top selling genre in the fiction industry for that very reason. Because it's like, why are we letting women have this in their lives when, so I think that there is some issues with jealousy. I think that traditionally things that women enjoy, people like to shit all over, which is not okay. Like, we should be allowed to enjoy what the fuck we want. And yeah, again, because it's written by women mostly, and it's for women. It's actually a rather empowering genre in terms of it's given women an opportunity to see that to learn about sex more and what to ask for in relationships and stuff like that. So that's my kind of view on the main reason why romance is trashed on. I guess another reason would be that primarily people seem to think that romance is like this Hallmark Channel, cheesiness. And while it might have been before, I don't really think it is now when you take into account all the different subgenres in romance there are. And, a lot of people will tend to try and write relatively realistic romances. So that could be another reason people don't like romance, because they think that it's cheesy and it's all about lovey-dovey shit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what your opinions on those are.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit frustrating when romance novels have a tendency to be dismissed as trashy, because it basically affects readers, and I think I feel like because of this, it kind of makes readers embarrassed to read romance or admit that they read romance. I know for a fact that when I admit that I read romance, I get funny looks. Maybe because they don't expect me to be interested in romance as a genre, or write it for that matter. But it does frustrate me, and I think that there is this stigma, as you say, especially when it comes to things like 50 Shades of Grey, which to most people just seems to be all about sex. And whenever somebody finds out that we kind of write steamy romances, it's always the first thing that comes to their head, where it's like, is it 50 Shades? And again, it's kind of like, oh, you write that kind of like trashy stuff, and it's just like, but this isn't right. You're not right to be saying that. It's very insulting, and it frustrates me. I see it on Twitter all the time, and it really does frustrate me immensely. I think I've just venting my frustration more than anything, I guess, because it's like I just feel like you can't really win with people who have this view. It's like, yeah, people can go into full-blown debates about the reasons why romance isn't trashy, but then you're always going to have the odd majority that just cannot be swayed. And it's just, I think it's just one of those things where it's just a constant battle, and it's just, I just, every time I see it, I'm just like, I can't. I literally can't. It's going to trigger me.
I'm the same. Like, I once saw someone tweeting about like this. Yeah, I'm always seeing these tweets about people saying, "Can you stop calling romance trashy?" And someone commented, going, "But if some romances are trashy, can't we call them that?" And I'm like, and then the person was like, "No, you can't, because you're basically still saying the same thing. It's like you can't go around saying an entire genre of books which are one incredibly popular and make a lot of fucking money."
Yeah.
Are trash. Like, that's basically saying that someone's time that they've taken over to write a book is worthless. Because if you're calling something trash, you're calling it basically something you would throw out in the garbage or the bin,
Yeah.
and that it's not worth anything. And that's the thing that annoys me the most, is just by saying romance is trashy, you're basically taking the entire genre of books, the biggest selling genre, and saying this is all crap, let's throw it in the bin. I'm like, that's not okay. And to continue to perpetuate that same negative connotations, you're just making it worse. And it's horrible, because it's like, why aren't we allowed to like what we want? Why aren't we allowed to write what we want? And especially for a genre that makes as much fucking money as it does, and especially for people who want to read that. It's like, why, you're forcing readers and writers not to want to admit that they write this stuff, because they don't want to deal with other people's judgmental and negative attitudes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's like, well, who wants to sit on the internet and get people shilling on you because of what you enjoy? No one does. And that goes for anything in life, but really we're talking about romance. But it's not okay, and we need to stop doing it. We need to stop like saying that an entire genre that is, a big genre that's not going away. We need to just stop, because what really is it doing other than being mean to people for no reason, like, and making out that our work is worthless and what we're reading is worthless and it doesn't mean anything. That's kind of why it annoys me, is because it's basically saying that what you do is like doesn't have a place in this. And I'm like, why? Because how can you say that when it's clear it does?
Yeah.
And I don't think that I really don't. I think that we're still living in this, society that hasn't really shaken off this, thing about it being for women, and it being something women enjoy. It's like we're not allowed to have anything as a woman. And that annoys me as well, because I'm like, why, people put, it's like people say they're feminists and they push for equality and all this business, and then they disparage in a genre that's written by women for women. And I'm like, why the fuck do you get off saying that? Like, you can't. How can you want the society to be equal if you're still disparaging something that's a female orientated genre? Not to say that, obviously, as we talked about men reading romance, that's a different subject, but overall, as we know, the biggest market is women. And so that is the issue, is that it is, for me, that's one of the biggest issues, is it's not respected because it is something that's for women. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
Yeah,
It does.
that's one of my biggest gripes, is that it's like, can you just stop disparaging women,
But this is so historical now that it's just not. It's not likely. I mean, I'd like to be optimistic in that. In that,
Yes.
everything there are movements and such that we wish could be different and could change because of how historical things are, and this would just be one of those things. And it's hard to be optimistic that things like this would stop, because it's almost like ingrained
Yeah.
in people's minds. So it's like, yes, we get frustrated, but it's like nothing will change as such. I don't know. Will anything change, do you think? I don't know. I don't know. I
Don't
know
know.
we know it shouldn't happen. We know it's not nice. And we know that it's something that we have to deal with all the time, but as to whether there will be a significant difference in how often people judge and basically tear apart romance and name it and basically degrade it, who knows? But I think a lot of the time it is to do with the fact that romance is very successful as a genre.
Yes.
And most of these things are done out of jealousy.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I like 100%. It's, you know, it can never be too. Yeah.
No, I agree. It is a lot of jealousy, and it's like there's no need for it. There is really no need, and this doesn't just happen in romance. I've seen this in the world. When someone sees a successful person or a successful thing, and they're jealous of it, they will try and drag that down. They will try and tear it down, and it's actually a credit to like the people who read it and write it, that it's still as big as it is, because we're kind of saying, no, you're not going to take this away from us. Like, you're not gonna destroy romance for us, because I think at the end of the day, romance is an important part of our world. Like,
Yeah.
it's supposed to be about hope and finding love, and there's all sorts of positive things in romance. It's not, yes, we've discussed there's dark romances, so on and so forth, but they still have the same outcome. They still have that happy ever after.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be uplifting. They're supposed to show that love can conquer all, kind of thing, which I know is like a kind of a fantasy fairy tale thing, but that's how it's a positive thing. It's not a negative thing. So every time you kind of drag something like that down, it's just like, well, why are you dragging something positive down? You're saying the people are not allowed to enjoy themselves. They're not allowed to have fun. They're not allowed to read what they want and escape for a while in a fantasy world that's just, it's like basically restricting people from being who they are in a way. And yeah.
Again, you brought this up, but this is exactly what we discussed in the last episode regarding men and reading romance, is that it does not help their case for men who do read romance, in terms of coming forward and being open about reading romance. It's because of that label. It's because of that judgment. It just doesn't help.
No, it doesn't. So, people who are going around doing this, you're just making it harder for everyone else. You're just perpetuating a negative stereotype of a genre that's actually, stayed the course, and it's not going anywhere. Like, stop trying to drag it down, because we're not going to go anywhere. Like, isn't enough now? Can we just get over this, this historical thing of romance being like, trashy? It's just like, why? There's no need for it. I just don't think there really need for people to do this. It's just annoying. And every time I see it, it grates on me and irritates me, because I'm like, what are you saying? That like my input into the world, the things that I put out in the world, are they not worth anything? If they weren't worth anything, then why would I be making money from them? Like,
exactly.
It's like, how can you can go around saying things are worthless, but if people are making money from it, then it's not worthless. And that kind of like makes me laugh, actually, because I'm like, well, here you are trying to desperately tell me that my work is not worth anything,
right?
and yet I'm, earning money from it.
Mhm.
So who's in the wrong here?
Mm. True.
And who's getting the raw end of the deal, not me. Yeah, so that's kind of again kind of actually amusing that people like go on about it this way, and it's like, well, you're kind of wrong, because if it was bad and not if it was trash, then no one would buy it.
Yeah.
But I guess you could kind of say what one person's trash is another person's treasure.
Yeah, exactly. I like that.
Exactly. So, fine. You can go around saying people are trash. You can go around saying that romance is trash. But I will say to you, you're the one who's trash. Because
Trying to walk around. I'm sorry. It's just like my automatic response to stuff. And like people say stuff to me like, you're lazy. No, they're like, yeah, they say stuff like you're lazy. I'm like, you're lazy. Like, it's just, how dare you insult me? But
I've kind of a funny thing is like normally when people are insulting other people, it's because they are that themselves.
I do you know what it is?
Often.
It's like I have to bring this up. I got it from Sherlock Holmes, like the first movie where they're in the carriage and Sherlock's throwing a little tantrum, and Watson wants him to basically meet his fiance for dinner, and Sherlock's being really stubborn and childish about it, and Watson says, "Ooh, and wear a jacket," and Sherlock goes, "You wear a jacket." And I'm just like, I just love the retort, and I use it all the time when people say stuff to me. I throw it back in their face. I just love it. So when you said let's do an episode on romance and why is it being called trashy, I just thought of that title of romance isn't trashy, you're trashy. I know that sounds mean, but
hey, it's not me. Anyone started it by insulting us first. So, you insult me, you're going to invite me to insult you back. Like, I'm a Brit, man. We take that shit seriously. It might not be the same around the world, but if someone starts fucking insulting me, I'm going to be like, hell no, you're going to get insulted back. Like, and I'll do it in a subtle way so they probably wouldn't notice I was being mean about them.
Passive aggressive is what
passive aggressive. Yes,
we do this. Passive aggressiveness is aggression is what we do.
Covertly insulting people when they don't even know. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yes, I'm pretending to be really polite to you, but actually I'm being really horrible.
Yeah,
that's what I do. Yeah. Whereas like this is just, well, quite frankly, you are trash if you think that I'm trash. If you think my books are trash, well, I say to you, are you selling your work? Are you published? I mean, are you selling your books? No? Okay, well,
yeah.
I think you're trash.
Damn.
Savagery. The savages are in the house. No.
Oh gosh. But yeah. I mean, I can't dispute with anything you said, to be honest. This is just something that we definitely has just frustrated us over the years that we've been on Twitter, and we've seen stuff. And I think this is what we do basically. Whenever we see something on Twitter that triggers us, we're like,
like, nah. And then we decide we want to do a podcast about it. So that we can express our displeasure at the...
Basically, it's less of a discussion and more of just venting. I'm sure that listeners can relate, however, and our listeners kind of already know what they're in for when they decide to click play on an episode.
Yeah, you can't really mistake our style. But yeah, like I'm just so tired. I'm really, really exhausted of this constant battle we face. I'm just like, I get to the point and I'm like, I don't know, why don't you all just go fuck off? Basically, like anyone who trashes my genre, I'm just like, fuck you, because I'm so tired of trying to get this argument across that you know, what you're saying is actually incredibly insulting and it's not okay, and it perpetuates this horrible stereotype. But there's just, you get to the point where you're like, well, these people aren't going to listen, so I'm just going to be like, well, fuck off then, because if you don't like it, that's not my problem. Like, don't read it.
Yeah.
Like, just don't read it, don't comment on it, because what right do you, at the end of the day, if you've never read a romance novel, what right do you have to comment on it? Because you don't know what are in romance novels. Until you read one, you don't have a fucking clue. Like, yes, some romance novels aren't very well written. Some of them are bad. But that doesn't mean that you have the right to take the entire genre and say, this is shit.
Yeah.
You know, because you're judging something unfairly in that respect. I mean, yeah, we've both read romances that we've hated and didn't think were very good. But does that mean that we're suddenly like, I'm never going to read romance again?
It's just ridiculous.
No. Yeah, I'm never going to read that author again. Fine. But because I've read a few of their books and decided they're not for me, fine. But I'm not going to go around writing about how I'm never going to read this author again. I'm just like, well, who actually cares whether I read this or not? No one. So why are we then, but you can't say that you've read every romance book. So how can you judge it, you know, in that way? I just, people's judgment, man.
I know.
I'm like, I just feel like saying, the world does not revolve around your fucking opinion, bro. It's your opinion. Opinions are subjective.
Yeah.
Your opinion does not make it fact.
What can I say?
Yeah, well, I don't know. But I would say that about a lot of things. Like, your opinion doesn't mean that it's true, doesn't mean that it's like factually correct. So take your opinions elsewhere because people don't want to hear them.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yes, we're all entitled to our own opinion, but when you go around disparaging like an entire genre and generalizing, then I don't want to hear it. Because I'm like, generalizations are generally not very good. Generalizations rely on like bullshit, quite frankly, and I'm tired because they just perpetuate stereotypes and negative stereotype.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's and I think a lot of the romance community is tired of this. And it's not just people saying romance is trashy, it's things like saying, oh, when romance, having a happy ever after makes it predictable, all of this shit. And I'm just like, and then there's people coming into the genre trying to like subvert it. And I'm like, wow.
No, yeah, that frustrates me so much.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? Don't try and come into my genre and like try and change shit up because I'm not interested in that.
I think for me, I think we've already discussed this, but I think for me it's definitely when I see things like, does a romance need a happy ever after? And it just triggers me. I don't like, I'm not a keyboard warrior. I don't go after people.
No.
But I do like just see that and think, have you not done your research? And then there's this whole, discussion around what is the difference between a love story and a romance. And it's like, I remember I had to actually Google the difference between a love story and a romance, like screenshot it and then send it to that person in a passive aggressive manner.
Yes.
To explain to them, or basically to shut them up because they were just talking nonsense, and I think they were trolling. But yeah, it's just things like that just.
It does, because it's, again, that's another way of kind of basically saying that anything that has a happy ever after is rubbish, or it's basically you come in and try and change things in a way that, just because you don't like it. I'm just like, well, why? I don't care if you don't like it. That doesn't change the fact that this is what it is.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I wish it would change so that romance wouldn't be. And I'm just like, there are plenty of other genres that you could write in that don't have happy ever afters. And that's, again, another thing that annoys me, because I'm like, these people see that romance is really popular, it makes people money, and they're like, oh, I want to jump on that bandwagon and make some money, but I don't want to write happy ever after. I'm like, don't try and muscle in on a genre and not then meet the expectations that are set for that genre. It's like with fucking, you know, any genre, like sci-fi, that should have elements of, like, you know, technological advances. You know, it could be set in space. It doesn't necessarily need to be, but there's lots of things in a sci-fi book that make it a sci-fi book. But no one's saying, oh no, you can't do that. Like, no one's kind of going, no, I want to change sci-fi. I don't want it to have to be sci. It's like, what? If someone said that in sci-fi, they would be kicked out and be like trashed all over and said, no, you're a fucking idiot. Why? Yeah. Why is it then acceptable to do that to the same thing to romance? And that's why another reason why this negative stereotype of saying romance is trashy means that people think that they can, you know, come in and trash on it and make out that like these things are, you know, go around wanting to change things. And I'm like, you wouldn't go around telling, you know, I don't know, trying to think of another. You wouldn't say in a fantasy novel, oh no, it has to be set in this time period. It can't be like fantastical elements anymore. That's not what we want. If someone told you that, you'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why? Why is it then acceptable for coming to a romance genre and saying, I don't want to write happy ever afters? I'm like, fuck off out of our genre then. Like, just fuck off out of the genre. Don't be coming in here and saying, I want to write romance, but it doesn't have a happy ever after. I'm like, that is not the requirement of a fucking genre. You wouldn't write like a book about, I don't know, mutants in space and then try and brand it as a like a historical non-fiction book. Why would you then come in and why would you then do that to another genre? Like, don't come into the genre and then try and change things because you don't like it. I'm like, I don't care if you don't like it. That's not what the genre is about. It's not about, the genre is about romance and people falling in love and riding off into the fucking sunset. It's not, you know, there are other genres. Go write fucking women's fiction if you don't want to write happy ever afters. Just stop coming into our genre and trying to make out that, like, oh, I can change this shit. I'm like, no, you fucking can't. Sorry. This is so triggering for me.
Oh, he's just shouting. I'm just like,
sorry, I'm not shouting at you.
My expression right now is the side eyes emoji with the big wide ones, where I'm just like, oh shit. Like, my voice is getting a bit louder here. And
sorry. I just feel so strongly. This is one of my biggest triggers, is people trying to muscle into a genre and say, I'm gonna change it. And I'm like, go fuck off. Don't be in here. Don't be coming up into our space, our sacred space of romance, where people run right off into the sunset and try and say, you're not allowed to have that anymore. I'm like, go away. No. And then they're like, yeah, but I want to, you know, be this person who changes things and makes changes. And I'm like, get out. Just get out. Just get out. I'm like, just fucking get out. Don't, you know, get out. I ain't got time for you. Like, I don't care. Like, yeah, go and write in the fucking genre, or start your own fucking genre. Don't come in here and start on and be like, yeah. And I'm like, no. No, fuck off. Leave our genre alone. Stop trying to come for us. You know, let us have our happy ever afters and go and write something else. Sorry, again. But this all comes down to the same topic. It's like, because there is this stereotype, people think that it's okay to do that. It's not respected. We're disrespected. So people think that it's okay to come in and say, oh, I can change. And I'm like, no. Mm-mm. Don't be coming up in here. Because I will show you the door and I'll kick you out of it.
Oh, man.
I knew this was going to be a ranty episode.
All of our episodes are ranty.
This is one of the worst, though. And I'm like shouting into the mic, like, get out of my fucking genre.
Oh my God, kind of
pitchforks.
bloody ear. I'm just like, Jesus. Oh.
I've clearly got some pent up rage over this subject.
Yeah, and we totally diverted from the actual topic too.
Well, it's still part of the same topic.
Yeah, I guess. Wow.
Yeah.
Are you doing all right now?
Yeah, I'm good, bruv.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because that was a lot. That was a lot. That's a lot. Oh. I mean, I don't really have anything else to say about that.
Well, I kind of said it all, really.
Said it, shouted it, like.
Hey, man.
Oh.
But I'm so tired. I am so tired of people trying to come for our genre. Like, why? Go away. Get a life.
Mm.
Don't be muscling in on a genre that when you don't want to, there are so many other genres. Like, honestly, just because it's, financially better than the other ones, don't mean that, if you don't want to write that, don't fucking write it.
Mm-hmm.
You can make money other ways if you try hard enough, if you get in on another genre that you like. And, at the end of the day, readers are kind of going to see if it's not genuine. If you're not genuinely enjoying what you're writing, I think people notice. I certainly notice. I'm just like, well, this is clearly written to a formula. They don't really care, So just go away. That's all I got to say about it. Don't come in. Don't come for us, and then I won't come for you.
Oh, damn.
Oh, the savagery behind closed doors between us.
I know.
People don't see this side of me other than on the podcast, though.
I see this side of you all the time.
Yes, because you're my best friends. You're subjected to like full-blown Sarah every day. Not that I'm trying to maintain a persona online or anything. I'm still me. I'm just a kind of maybe less angry Sarah. Anyway, I'm gonna give the topic over to Sab again because I have ranted too much.
What would you like me to say?
Well, feelings about, is there anything else that you hate about people?
I think I've said, I know my rant was very short. It was not even a rant. It was more like an expression of contempt towards people who do trash romance. But other than that, I don't think I've got any stronger feelings about it. It's just sheer frustration, to be honest with you. And I wish that it could stop. I wish there was a way, but I'm not optimistic about that. And so I just kind of like turn a blind eye to it. It infuriates me, but at the same time, I just think to myself, they have no idea what they're talking about. I could basically talk myself blue in the face, but it would make no difference because people on Twitter are so opinionated.
Tell me about it. Ugh. You know what I find? A lot of these people who are like super opinionated have never published a book.
I know.
And that annoys me because I'm like, where do you get off telling me what I should be and shouldn't be doing? Who has more experience here? Anyway. I don't think I've ever had anyone like personally come at me over like romance or anything. But I just see it. I see it and I'm tired. I'm really, really tired of it because, like I've said, it doesn't make us feel very good when we get this kind of, shit. And it does really come down to like society's perception and of the genre. And I just don't understand why all of these other genres are respected. Like people respect people who write sci-fi and fantasy and epic. Why then are people who write romance not respected, as you kind of seen as like you're not a real writer if you don't like write these, epic novels that like make a big difference to the world. I'm like, what is the problem with some people writing some stuff that gives someone some escapism for a while? Like, is that it's like it's literary snobbery. And I especially see it in like the UK. There's this literary snobbery, and it annoys me because what I write is just as valid as anyone else's, right? Yeah, I'm not going to fucking cure cancer with my books, right? But I'm giving some people some light relief. I'm giving them some time to enjoy themselves, and especially in today's world, don't we need a bit of escapism? Don't we need to do things that make us happy?
Mm-hmm.
So if romance makes people happy, then is it really harming anyone? No. If I say that it's kind of making people's lives better because they take some time out to kind of, read a story and it comes with a happy ever after. And it's like, shouldn't we want to be made to smile? Because
Yeah.
that's what romance is. It's there to give you a happy, positive outcome. So when I pick up a romance novel, I know that I'm going to get a happy ever after, and I don't have to worry that someone's going to fucking die, or there can be deaths in the book, but the main characters aren't going to die, or the main hero and heroine aren't going to die, and I can go, okay, I can read this and feel good because I know that the outcome will be a good outcome, and that's actually nice because I'm not worrying about bullshit like, oh my god, maybe this person will die at the end and then I'm going to be miserable, and why would you disparage something like that, like that's actually a positive thing in this world, especially in these times, in these streets that we're living in? Why are we still continuing to go on about romance as if it's not like positive? Why, people? Why are you doing this? Oh dear. Yeah, that's sorry, was I getting a bit philosophical?
Sarah, everything about you is philosophical. Like, this doesn't surprise me at all. Like, you went from so many different stages in this episode, from ranty to raging to philosophical. This is just you in a nutshell.
True. I swear to God, we like change topics that we're like so quickly.
It happens. It happens. I'm not surprised.
Oh dear. So yeah, guys, going forward, just stop trashing on books. Like, it doesn't even matter if it's romance. Just stop. Like, if you don't like something, it doesn't mean you need to go around hating on it all the time. Like, no one really cares. Your opinion in the world are not like that big of a deal. Like, in comparison to everything else going on in the world right now, is it really that big a deal that someone wants to read a fucking romance book? Like, really? On the scale of things in this world, what is more important? You hating on someone for reading romance, or the fact that hundreds of thousands of people are dead because of a virus? Put it that way. Put your fucking opinions into a fucking perspective. I'm sorry to put it out there, we are going through fucking COVID times right now. It's 2020. It's shit. Why are you still hating on something like this? Go and fucking hate on the fucking virus. Stop hating on romance. I'm sorry to say that. But really, what is more important? Why are we hating stupid, simple things like books when we've got shit going on in our lives? Or maybe it's because people don't want to think about it. But chill out, people. Just chill out over fucking books and stop being a dick. I'm sorry to get like deep and shit like that, but I'm just tired of getting these negative opinions, and I'm tired of it, and I'm just like, can you just put your fucking life in perspective? Is it really necessary to go on Twitter and say, I hate romance, or romance is shit? Like, What what good is that doing? Are you putting something good out in the world? No, you're not. You're putting more shit in the world by doing that. And you're insulting people and you're making people feel bad about themselves. Does that make you feel good about yourself to do that? Apparently it does, because otherwise people wouldn't be doing it. I'm like, would you? And also, the internet annoys me because people say all this bullshit over the internet, but would you, if you came up to me and said that to my face, I don't think that you would. I don't think these people would come up to my face and say, "You write trashy romance. You're a bad person," or whatever it is they say. Would you really genuinely go up to someone and say that to their face? So why is it then okay to like say that on the internet? Like, it's not okay. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, more ranting.
No worries. No worries.
But it's like, it's true. Just put your life into a bit more perspective and stop. Just don't be a dick. This is my opinion about everything. Don't be a dickhead. Is it hard not to be a dickhead? Apparently it is for some people. I think. Like, Jesus Christ. Sorry, guys.
Don't listen to her. She doesn't believe it.
But you know me, I don't judge people on like what they like or who, any of that shit. I kind of judge someone on who they are and how they treat other people. If you treat someone else like a shit, then I'm going to think you're a shit. I'm going to think you're a dick. But if you read romance novels, I'm going to be like, that's cool, bruv. If you read fantasy novels, I'm going to be like, that's cool, bruv. I'm glad you're doing something you enjoy.
Mm.
But maybe I've just been raised to like not be a dickhead. Hey man, it's easy to be nice, people. It is easy to be nice. It's easy not to say things like romance is trash, because I do it every day. So why can't you do that?
Mm.
Not you. I know that you would never say that.
I love being safe. Oh gosh.
Okay, have we exhausted this topic? I think like I've been talking way too long.
I think you were 100% more passionate about this topic than I was. I think for me it was definitely a frustration, but for you it was something different.
I think because it's like, it's not just a simple like thing. There are so many facets to the topic, like, and so many different ways people can insult a genre.
Mm-hmm.
That it just gets to the point where I just get annoyed because I'm like, I'm, because it's tiring. It's really exhausting, and that's the problem. I'm just so tired of the same thing being thrown again and again in our faces. It's like, just go away. Like, go away and do something productive with your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all the time that you're spending on Twitter going, romance is shit, you could be fucking writing your own book,
Mm.
I think that's kind of my thing. I'm like, go and do something positive with your life instead of like sitting on Twitter and trashing on romance.
Mm.
So yeah. Well, well, there you have it, guys. They have it. Just, I will leave you with this. Don't be a dick to people on Twitter. Don't trash romance. And go do something productive with your life.
Yeah, man, that's just that. That is
Sarah's life advice.
That is some advice right there.
Hopefully, someone will take this seriously and actually, put this into practice. But I don't know if I'm going to be cautiously optimistic about this.
And hopefully, someone who's listening will be like, "Fuck, I will never mess with Sarah Bailey ever."
Yeah, don't fucking mess with me because I'll fucking come for you. No, I'm joking. I'm not that type of person. Like, normally if someone's being insulting, I'm just like, whatever, go away. Because most of the time I don't really care. Like,
yeah.
But I will rant about it. But I will, if you like really come at me and insult me, then I will fucking come for you. But most of the time I'm like, you know what? I can't be bothered. Like, you're not worth my time. Because actually, to be honest, people who do trash on romance are probably not worth my time or energy. But anyway, I think that we're going to wrap this up now. So that was the Made in Romance podcast. That was our discussion on why romance is trashy, because you're trashy. And we will see you next time. Bye,
Okay,
guys.
guys. Bye.